we wanted to make a comprehensive list of some of the most interesting Animal Crossing conspiracy theories that exist. And I think the list we came up with is pretty incredible. We're gonna start with some really basic surface level ones that still might surprise you, but the deeper we get in our list, the weirder and more bizarre things are going to start to get. You see, when it comes to Animal Crossing, the community has always had a knack for uncovering hidden secrets, and as we delve further into the realm of fan theories, things might get a little more sinister and a little more creepy. So without further ado, let's embark on this captivating journey into the unknown. Now, to start our lists, we looked at icebergs, forum posts, discussions, other videos, and found some really strange things. From things like haunted towns to villagers being undead spirits, we got a lot to look at. To start things off, I thought we should take a look at an Animal Crossing iceberg made by Victoria of Starry Island of the Belltree forums. It's a pretty basic Animal Crossing iceberg that does go in depth in at least describing what some of these things are that at least I hadn't heard of. Now, if you haven't seen an iceberg video or seen the meme before, it essentially has interesting facts at the top, and the further down you get, the weirder it gets too. We compiled our own list, so we're gonna start off easy with KK Derge. It's a creepy song in the Animal Crossing games. If you're curious what it sounds like this.
Me, oh, oh.
That's as deep as that one gets. Brutus the Bulldog, who's essentially an urban legend of a character who apparently will come and mess up your island, though he's not actually found in the game files anywhere and is kind of like the Animal Crossing equivalent of Herobrine from Minecraft. Just a creepy urban legend. I don't think there's some like demonic creature lurking in the background of our Animal Crossing towns, not at least yet. Okay, then this iceberg does have some memes on there, like Isabelle being super buff from Super Smash Bros, or her being best friends with Doom Guy from Doom because Doom Eternal came out on the same day that Animal Crossing New Horizons came out on. And then aliens, which is something we've talked about before in the Animal Crossing universe. They exist. There are these weird transmissions at like 3:33 a.m. on Saturday mornings, which look like aliens, and Gulliver flies a UFO. We're not convinced that Gulliver doesn't have something to do with these aliens. He flies this thing. And they also appear at the end of the Animal Crossing anime, which is a little bit odd. Though things start to get interesting at layer 2. Let's talk about Aika Village. Back in the Animal Crossing New Leaf days, there were a lot of forum discussions of fans showing off their towns to each other, and dream addresses were introduced to Animal Crossing New Leaf, so that was a cool new feature. Though one dream address slowly started making its rounds, and nobody actually could pinpoint who the original author was back in the day, and upon going to this town, it's definitely creepy. While it seems like the origin of this town is mostly unknown, the fact that the dream address code spread around online in the Animal Crossing community pretty largely is intriguing to say the least, especially if you go and visit the town yourself. Things are definitely a little unsettling here, which had led to a ton of people in the Animal Crossing community trying to discuss and unravel what the theme, story, and plot of this town truly are. What is going on here? Now, it does look like there was a fan recreation of this concept in Animal Crossing New Horizons, as that dream address would continue to circulate as well, and it looks like it is another similarly themed island, though we have no confirmation that the original creator of the town from Animal Crossing New Leaf that kind of went viral in the community is the same creator of the New Horizons one, and we still just have so many questions. Brewster's secret recipe. Okay, the next one's a little more lighthearted, but Brewster serves special drinks in his coffee shop that are made with pigeon milk. Yuck? Gulliver's attempted murder. There's a big fan theory that Gulliver's crew is actually trying to quote-unquote get rid of him. If you think about it, he washes up ashore every couple of weeks, it seems like. His communicator is broken, his crew doesn't come looking for him unless he calls, and he's like nearly dead on the island. Now, I always just thought he was heavily intoxicated and passed out, but I mean, this theory could potentially make sense, and I guess it's maybe implied in some of the dialogue that Gulliver says that his crew definitely might not be the most loyal thing, but nonetheless, there's never been anything proven towards this, so it is an interesting, lighthearted fan theory. But maybe now we should look at something a little darker in tone. Animal Crossing, in general, is haunted. Okay, this one contains a bunch of different theories from this iceberg condensed into just this one point we'll talk about, but despite the cheerful facade of islands in Animal Crossing New Horizons, some fans have wondered if things maybe aren't quite that simple, as there's interesting little reminders and clues dropped here and there that make things seem a little uneasy. The overall presence of supernatural entities existing in your Animal Crossing New Horizons is pretty commonplace. There are a lot of little things pointing to the fact that, at least to an extent, there is something in the supernatural realm also present in Animal Crossing. There's a King Tut mask that puts a curse on players, or fake art will glow if you have it on display at night. Wisp thinking that the player is undead, which could mean that maybe he doesn't know that he is the one that is actually dead. There's gyroids, fortune tellers, and even inanimate objects coming to life, like Zipper T Bunny. One of our first videos was actually on him, where I debunked the game theory video where Zipper is the player's dad, and more, I think he might actually just be a living, fully alive bunny suit, but not an actual bunny. It's not the first time we've seen non-living things like Stitches or a robot villager or food-themed villagers. I don't know, maybe it's for the best we don't try to unzip this dude, but it's not crazy to think that there are a lot of random implications throughout all of Animal Crossing that just don't sit as well as some of the more lighthearted approaches to world building that Nintendo has done with this game series. Walker is Lucky. There is a theory among some Animal Crossing fans that suggest Lucky, this mummy dog villager, is the mummified and dead version of another dog villager named Walker. This theory emerged due to the similar appearance and the fact that they both share the lazy personality type in the game. However, it's important to note that this theory was purely speculative and pretty much lacks substantial evidence other than just the appearance. And while Lucky and Walker do have some physical similarities, such as their dog appearance, it's pretty unlikely that this would have any real connection. One key point to consider is both Lucky and Walker can coexist in the same game in the Animal Crossing series, so it contradicts the idea that they could be deceased versions of each other if they both can be there at the same time. Additionally, there was this old but official Animal Crossing website that mentioned Lucky wears bandages due to this fishing injury, and while the website may not really be accessible other through archived access, this official reasoning suggests that Lucky is wearing bandages and isn't some dead mummy. It's definitely a fun fan theory, but easily debunkable. Cap'n kidnaps children. Okay, there's speculation that Cap'n from Animal Crossing is inspired by Japanese folklore that suggests that the inspiration of this character comes from a creature that could kidnap children. This is because in Animal Crossing, Cap'n is obviously inspired by the mythological Japanese creature of a kappa. These creatures are said to inhabit bodies of water, such as rivers and lakes, and are typically portrayed as water imps or turtle-like beings with shells on their backs. While kappas are often known for their mischievous nature, they aren't commonly associated with the idea of kidnapping children in traditional Japanese folklore. They're more seen as mischievous and more depicted as tricksters who engage in pranks or play tricks on unsuspecting humans, not the more menacing kidnapping of children. I think someone looking into the root inspiration of this character may have gone a little bit carried away, perhaps to make a story sound more interesting and larger than life, and people who didn't do like 2 seconds of Googling to figure out what a kappa is in folklore probably just saw mischievous or something and was like, yeah, that sounds right, that checks out, that's my new headcanon. Honestly, Cap'n in Animal Crossing isn't even a mischievous character. I mean, he might say some weird things sometimes, but he seems pretty friendly nonetheless. So if anything, it might just be the physical design that was maybe inspired by kappas, but definitely nothing deriving from this darker story. The Gyroid face punishment. Now, this is an occurrence that happens in the original Animal Crossing game, and to this day, it's heavily debated if this is a glitch or something completely intended by the Nintendo developers that causes something completely terrifying to happen in your Animal Crossing game. It's really easy to do. All you have to do is take the train in-game to the town of another player, reset the GameCube while you're in the other player's town, and then start up the game again, and the glitch will make you look like this, and all of your items are gone. It is pretty terrifying to see this happen in-game, but many people actually in the Animal Crossing community believe that this is an intended effect, almost to deter players from resetting while visiting a different town, while other players think that it is a glitch caused by corrupted data from transferring and not saving. In my opinion, I always thought this was actually a glitch because, I mean, look at this. This is very terrifying of a punishment, and usually Usually, the old Animal Crossing games, the punishment would just be Mr. Rossetti showing up for something like this. So I never really knew what was going on, but to this day, there hasn't been any full-on confirmation from Nintendo either, saying that it's an intended Easter egg, and it never returned in any other Animal Crossing games either down the road. Still, it's pretty terrifying looking. The Animal Crossing villagers know. Sometimes in Animal Crossing, a lazy villager might start talking about some wild rumor that they heard. They say things like they think that their lives are in a game and not real, and just everything is part of some sort of game or something. They'll point out strange things like music playing everywhere, trees exclusively having exactly 3 types of wood, and fruits growing seemingly fast. The villager might even mention that Tom Nook doesn't make a whole lot of sense because he buys random things and sometimes useless items from you and pays an interesting price, but also asks you to pay him back with the same money he just gave you for the house that he built for you. Just really self-aware for a minute, but then don't worry. It turns out the villager's just joking and he blames his silly thoughts on eating too many chips the night before. Just a random and fast moment of the fourth wall being very broken, and to think of all the possible villagers that could figure out the Matrix through this existential crisis, it's someone like Cube, or someone else, for example. Maybe they do all know secretly. Basement screaming. We all have had that villager that wants to be a superstar one day, and sometimes if you're lucky, your peppy villager might say something along the dialogue lines of, "Basements are great for screaming. Nobody will hear you." Singing. I meant singing. Okay. Yeah, I guess the basements are soundproof. Now, what's interesting about this one specifically is I saw this on the same iceberg, and it says that this only is a line that can happen from peppy villagers. However, I've personally had an interesting occurrence with a smug villager talking about how he practiced karate and taekwondo in his basement, and also that randomly nobody can hear you screaming from your basement. Kind of alluding to the fact that like he threw himself and injured himself in the basement and nobody could hear him scream. This only happened after I took a break from the game and came back and talked to the villager to see what has been up. So now we have 2 accounts of villagers talking about screaming in the basement, and then nobody can hear you scream. That's weird. Gyroids are based on Hanawa. This is something that's been confirmed by the developers of Nintendo, but Hanawa are these terracotta clay figures that were used for ritual use and buried with the dead. And here in Animal Crossing, there are these living things. I mean, they make these noises and they can talk. Does that mean that they could potentially be haunted in one way or another because of that connection to the dead? Take it a step further, a lot of fans have speculated that Coco is also based off of Hanawa because of her face resembling that of a gyroid, for example. However, it is also worth noting that Coco is very much inspired by a coconut, and those are her eyes and mouth as well. Maybe it's a double meaning, maybe it's one or the other, but because her name being Coco, I'm tending to lean towards the coconut side of things, and it's just a coincidence. Coco might not actually be a dead villager after all. This next one's not as scary as it is terrifying. Sherry is gross AF. In Animal Crossing, you might have had the villager Sherry live on your island, and she is designed based off of the squirrel monkey, who in real world also have yellow fur around their limbs. That's a cute real world reference. However, squirrel monkeys' limbs are actually stained yellow because they wash their limbs off with their own urine. Gross. Humans are going extinct. This one's pretty self-explanatory, but apparently there's this theory that humans in the Animal Crossing world are possibly going extinct, and it's a theory that's gained some popularity among some fans. The theory is mostly based on observations and interpretations made by players. In the Animal Crossing series, of course, the player character is the only human among a community of these animal villagers, and there's no other human characters present other than like letters you might get in the mail. There's apparently other little hints alluding to this as a possibility through different dialogue, like villagers maybe not fully understanding why humans are a little bit different. Just little things kind of nuanced about the human player. I don't think that this one's necessarily true. I think more likely Nintendo chose this approach so that we can relate to our human character being introduced to this world of talking animals. Tom Nook is behind it all. This is probably one of the earliest theories that players have come up with, and if you've played Animal Crossing, I'm sure at some point this idea has crossed lost your mind at one point or another. But yeah, there's this theory that Tom Nook is essentially a menacing character behind everything that's going on in the game, mostly just based around perceptions of Tom Nook's business practices within the games themselves. Like we mentioned earlier, Tom Nook runs the store that gives you money for selling things while also getting that money back when you pay down your debt. Especially in New Horizons, he requires you to go get supplies to build houses. Public works projects do not get done unless you're the one funding them, and essentially it could be perceived as this loop of free labor that Tom Nook kind of forces you into, and this time around on a deserted island. So there's even more depth there. There's another Animal Crossing New Horizons iceberg that was done by Kid Cool Not Lemur, and the lower levels of this iceberg are pretty interesting, so we'll just kind of start right down there. Bards House. Now, a few of you may have had the Animal Crossing villager Bards in your island, or maybe you designed a special home for him in Happy Home Paradise. Though Bards House itself, if you get him actually living on your island, is a little bit more weird. His house is filled with these security screens and cameras, essentially showing security footage of the island, meaning at all times he's watching people all over the island without them knowing. Why is he doing this? We don't know. It's just a little interesting that this is the design choice that Nintendo picked for this dude's house. The Da Vinci Key. On the back side of the fake academic painting, there's actually a hidden key taped onto the back. This is obviously a reference to the Da Vinci Code, but why is the key actually here? What is it signifying, and why is it on this specific painting? Don't Peek. This one's interesting. It's actually a fan horror film that's based about a girl playing Animal Crossing, and for whatever reason there's some sort of entity in her Animal Crossing game. This short film was submitted to different film festivals, and apparently it's now becoming a feature-length film, though it's unknown at this point if the Animal Crossing references will actually stay in the real release of the movie, or they'll do like some other generic fake video game played on the Switch. These next ones are pretty deep, and they do have some crossover with that last iceberg, but they're found on the Fan Theories wiki page. Animal Crossing is Purgatory. This is another fan theory that focuses on the idea that the player could be implied to be dead and residing in Purgatory, a waiting room before being able to enter into the afterlife. The character arrives in a town populated with cute talking animals with a calm environment. However, the character, unaware of their death, is being shielded by the Purgatory itself, keeping the knowledge and potential suffering associated with it hidden from the player. With this theory of Animal Crossing being Purgatory, it tries to distract the character from discovering their true state by offering various activities and amenities. They have their own house, they can collect money, shop at a growing department store, and donate fossils to a museum. These are all diversions, though, in an attempt to stop the character from realizing that some things are out of the ordinary and continue to keep the illusion that everything is normal. No, besides some of the things we've talked about earlier in this video, the character is unable to leave the town permanently because they can't quote-unquote return to life. And while other villagers can come over and visit through the train or airplane, these towns potentially could be their own Purgatory, even more so if you look at the whole Dream Suite settings that are set up in the game too. Some fans even theorized that the tree that you have in Animal Crossing New Leaf that grows for every day that you play the game is imagery suggesting that the player character may finally ascend to the afterlife once the town tree reaches its full growth stage. And it's an interesting fan theory to say the least. I definitely don't think it's official lore, but it is a fun interpretation of how some fans have taken the plot and setting for Animal Crossing and how they choose to approach their day-to-day gameplay of this title. Animal Crossing New Leaf's negative 7 p.m. aura. This one's a little wild, and at first I thought it was nothing, but the more I looked into it, it's a recurring thing that's happened throughout the Animal Crossing community. Back after the release of Animal Crossing New Leaf, on various forum posts and other online websites, some Animal Crossing players had pointed out that the music that plays at 7 p.m. in Animal Crossing New Leaf, oddly enough, sounds eerie or uncomfortable. Some even used the word unsettling. I never thought twice about the 7 p.m. music. I thought it just sounded like a normal, nice, lighthearted Animal Crossing song, and there's a lot of other posts out there of people praising 7 p.m. for being one of the best Animal Crossing New Leaf songs. But still, there's a weird number of posts from some people who just feel like something doesn't sit right with this song. And there's been other theories that dig deeper into certain songs in other video games having a negative aura around them, and you never would think a staple in the Animal Crossing soundtrack would be a song that could trigger these feelings, even if it's just amongst a smaller group of fans. Let's play that track real quick so you can get an idea. It is an interesting theory, to say the least. It's weird how this track always feels like one of those songs you know you've heard before, even if you've never played Animal Crossing New Leaf. Hearing the song just makes you think that at some point you've definitely crossed paths with it at some time. But when? The villager Rattle is toxic. This one's more interesting than creepy, but the villager Rattle is likely based off of the yellow-banded poison dart frog, which is an incredibly poisonous type of frog. And Rattle not only has the color of the frog, but also wears a mask as if he's trying to protect others from possibly getting poisoned from him. His name might even be a reference to a rattling cough, which is kind of dark for an Animal Crossing game. Blazel the Squirrel. A long time ago, when fans dug through Animal Crossing files, they found an unused section for a villager that looked like a red squirrel. Upon more investigations, it appeared that this character wasn't just a regular Animal Crossing character, but perhaps a special character that would have been involved in some form or another with maybe an event or a holiday. For whatever reason, this character was cut from the game, and it wasn't until years later that fans did some data searching through Dobutsu no Mori Plus and found that her true name was Blazel, likely a combined name of Bliss and Hazel put together. Denzels short stories. There's an incredible Animal Crossing series we've talked about on this channel before that is a fully animated series making sketches out of some of the most iconic moments that most players go through and experience on a regular in Animal Crossing. But slowly, as these seemingly innocent episodes progress, a deeper narrative exists in the background, and things get pretty dark quickly. We're not going to spoil anything, but the whole series is complete with a special coming out later on. We highly recommend you watch this entire series because the story is just really solid. Night clowns. In Animal Crossing New Horizons, sometimes a villager, when announcing that they are going to move away, mention that they're okay and ready to move away because of the night clowns. It's kind of a weird thing to randomly bring up with no context whatsoever, and for whatever reason, I don't think they're talking about Pietro. And that's our list for the most interesting and odd fan theories across all of Animal Crossing. Did any of these pique your interest specifically? Maybe we should do a deeper dive one day. Let us know what your thoughts are in the comments down below. Make sure you are subscribed with notifications on for more videos like this. That's it for today though. We'll see you next time with a brand new video.